Emergency alert. Do not look outside your windows. Emergency alert. Warning, this is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Citizens of the world. Lock all doors. Close all of your blinds. Do not go near any windows. Do not look outside. Do not leave your house. Stay in a room with no windows. Gather what supplies you can. Turn all of the lights off. Do not open the door for anything. When I first heard it, it didn't even sound real. It sounded fake, like something in a horror movie, but it was an emergency, so I decided I probably should do what they tell me. I grabbed a flashlight, pillow, my phone, charger, food and basic other stuff to keep me entertained while this stuff happened. I had no idea what was going on, but once I got into my bathroom and got comfy, I texted my parents asking them if they got the alert. They also did. They said citizens of the world. Did they actually broadcast that to world? I asked myself. So I texted an internet friend that lives across the world, and they said they got it too. Same exact message. And to be honest, it's kinda scary. They tell you what to do, but not what's going on, and people are scared of that. 20 minutes later. Emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Unknown creatures have been knocking on people's doors and been killing people that open the door. There is 5 major hotspots. Washington, D.C., Tokyo, Toronto, Moscow, and London. They have been located all around, but it seems as if they are attacking those first. This is an invasion. Stay in your rooms. Do not open any doors. Do not look outside. They can kill you instantly with just a look. May God help us all. Emergency nuke sirens are going off. Tornado sirens are going off. What is going on? Is this a prank? How can an invasion be real? Are aliens real? How can I even comprehend that? I heard car alarms going off. I hear things being destroyed. They are here. They are killing. It sounds like a war zone out there, but without any guns. What can the government do? Just shoot them? But they would die looking at them. There's no possible way we could ever survive this. We are going to die. I text my parents but no answer. I text my brother and sister, no answer. I start to panic now. What if my family is gone? And all I can do is listen to other people's families get murdered. The nuke sirens have started again, and they are very loud. Shaking my whole apartment. I wonder what the other people in my building are thinking. Probably like me, this is it. This is the end of the world. Everyone on this planet will die. I hear a knock on my door. I don't answer it. I hear someone screaming for me to open it. I mean, it sounded human. Should I open it? No. That would be stupid. Emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The extraterrestrial are attacking every major city in the world. There is a lot of them. We have not found out what they want. Stay inside. Millions if not billions are dead. Stay inside. It's as if the government have given up now. There's no way to fight and these messages are less helpful each time they come on. If billions are dying, then I don't know how we can survive this. I mean, I have so far. But it doesn't sound like for long. I hear buildings being destroyed. I hear cars being destroyed. My building has been hit a few times. I'm hearing my world crumble before me. At this point there's no reason to hope anymore. There's so many dying and there is so much chaos, they will get everyone. I would love to know what one of these things looks like. But if I see them, I die. I hope someone takes a picture, and if we do survive, I want to see it. I want to see what's killing us. But the end is nowhere near and I don't even know how many people we have left. Should I just kill myself? Maybe I should die before they get me. I don't want to die by those things. Plus, what if I do survive and get survivor's guilt? Then there's no way I... Emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The extraterrestrial have left, and left billions of people dead. If you are alive, please tap the button on your phone now. If on a radio, tune to 104 and state your name and city. We will update you in 20 minutes. There's no way I would want to live. That's what I was going to say. And yet, somehow, I'm actually alive. Do I want to die now? Well, no. But how many people are alive? What do these things want? Why did they attack us? There's too many questions to even ask right now. At this point all we can do is try to figure out some numbers and restart society. How can a world like ours recover from something like this? How long until society is normal again? Will humanity ever be the same? I don't know. What I do know is that I could have lost everything. I will text my friends and family and come back with some numbers. Emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. We have reported a little over 1 billion people accounted for. Not every country has the technology, so we will investigate those countries in the coming months. We do not understand what these creatures wanted, nor what they have taken. In the next month or two we will be figuring out the next steps for humanity. May God help us all. Only 3 people I know survived. My sister, my uncle and my best friend. Everyone else is dead. I want to kill myself. But at the same time, humanity needs me. We need each other to continue human life. Only time will tell what to do next. If there is anything next. Edit, it's 2 weeks later. The guilt is too much. I'm a fucking coward. Goodbye. Don't Google yourself. Horror story. Don't Google yourself. Why? Because you may not like what you find. One day, I was bored and decided to search for my own name on Google. I have quite a rare name, so I didn't expect to find many results. Imagine how surprised I was when I came across a website that had my full name in the domain. www. My name. Com. When I clicked the link, it brought me to a message board. I looked at the profile of the website owner and found out that the person was the same age as me and had the same hobbies and interests. There weren't any posts on the message board, but I was intrigued, so I saved it in my favorites. It was about a month later, when I went back to the website. This time, it had more content. There were some diary entries, mostly random things like the weather was nice today or I'm so bored in work. Things of that nature. However, as time went on, I began to notice more and more coincidences. The person lived in the same city as I did. It struck me as rather strange that 2 people with the exact same rare name would be living in the same city at the same time. At one point, I noticed that the contents of the diary were quite similar to my own life. One day, I went to a baseball game, and when I checked the website that evening, I found that the owner of the site had gone to the same ball game. At first, I didn't think much of it. After all, tens of thousands of people in the city supported the same baseball team. It began to seem like much more than a simple coincidence. Whenever I checked the website, I would notice little biographical details that seemed too close for comfort. For example, the owner mentioned their pet dog, and the dog's name was the same as the dog I had when I was a child. The website owner posted a picture of their car. It was the same model of car I had been driving when I was in college. They talked about eating at a certain restaurant. It was the same restaurant I had gone to all the time when I was working at my previous job. One day, when I looked at the message board, people had written messages to the owner saying happy birthday. That day, it was my birthday as well. I decided to write on the message board for the first time, just out of curiosity. I was going to wish the owner a happy birthday and tell them we had the same name. However, when I tried to write something, I realized that there was nowhere to type your message. It wasn't a message board at all, just a static page. That's odd, I thought to myself. In other words, whoever owned the website had gone to a lot of trouble to make it seem as if it was an interactive site. As if there were other people posting on it. When in actual fact, all the content must have been created by the owner. Why on earth would someone do that? I wondered. I decided to send an email to the owner. It read, "Hi there. Believe it or not, we both share the same name. Nice to meet you." It was just a friendly email. The next day, when I tried to look at the website, I discovered that it was gone. It seemed like it had been deleted. Then, I opened my mailbox. There was one reply. When I looked at it, a chill ran down my spine. It just read, "Found you." Horrifying experience during quarantine. I was upstairs in my room one night playing video games with the volume really loud when I thought I heard noises coming from downstairs. I muted the TV and listened closer. Nothing. I resumed playing the game for another hour when I heard it again, only louder. I was sure I heard it this time and was a little freaked out. To assure myself, I went downstairs to the basement where I thought I heard the noise coming from. As soon as I opened the basement door, I was hit with a cold breeze. I went downstairs and saw the window wide open. I was 100% sure I had closed and locked all the windows in the house. I was ready to make a run for it when something stopped me. I turned around and for the first time noticed the closet door was slightly cracked open. I stood for what seemed like 30 minutes in front of that door debating whether I should open it. I moved closer and put my hand on the doorknob. All of a sudden I heard a creepy crackle coming from inside the closet. I have never run faster up a flight of stairs before. I locked the door and called the cops, who had an unusually fast response time. They came in and searched the house, and not even 5 minutes into their search I heard a gunshot from downstairs. A few minutes later they came out with a deranged-looking man, probably homeless. They put him in the back of the car and told me they had opened the door and the man was holding a gun, shot at them and missed. He luckily missed and the cops disarmed him and arrested him. The scariest part was how close I was to opening that door and likely being murdered. My girlfriend talks in her sleep. My girlfriend talks in her sleep. At first it was cute and hilarious to tell her what she said. It was harmless nonsense. The sky is folding. Or we need to raise the ground. We talked the next day about if she remembered her dream, but she never did. I wish I knew what she meant by we need to raise the ground. Some context, our nightly routine is for us to start out cuddling and then give up once it gets too hot. Then we're usually both on our sides, back to back. She would fall asleep before I do, and so I would hear the full range of her nightly musings. Honestly, at first I was eager to hear what she said. It was always funny to tell her and our friends what she would say while deep in the throes of REM. But now I'm done. I'd prefer she not talk anymore. How am I going to sleep after what happened last night? Last night around 11 p.m. she was asleep and I was still up reading. Back to back, I hear her mumble something under her breath. I couldn't quite make out what she said, but I lean over from my book to peek at her face and she is sleeping soundly. I return to my book, get absorbed back into its pages. At some point I fall asleep. Next thing I know, I'm woken up by my girlfriend talking at full volume. I open my eyes, and at some point in the night both of us have turned to lay face to face. My girlfriend's eyes are wide open. She is staring right at me, mere inches from my face. But her eyes are vacuous, like she is looking through me. These eyes, man, it's like she was straining to widen them as much as possible. Those are the eyes I fell in love with, and right now they are scaring the absolute piss out of me. My heart rate skyrockets, and chock full of adrenaline I throw off the covers and jump out of bed. Looking at her, her eyes follow me like a painting, but her body stays still. For 1 second I decided that my book light was keeping her awake, and what she had said was, "Can you please turn that off?" Now out of bed and looking at her, she's not right. Her body hasn't moved, but her eyes dart from looking at me to looking around the room. I dare to ask her, "Are you alright?" No response. Those eyes look at me when I speak, though. They are now deadlocked, looking right into my eyes. Her breathing hasn't changed. That is a sleep breathing for sure. That's when, while looking right at me, she says in a too deep voice, "Come back to bed, dearie." My girlfriend has never called me dearie before. We have pet names, sure, but they range from pumpkin, baby, to cupcake. Dearie sounds like something my grandmother would call me. I decide I'll get more information before I climb back into bed with a potentially possessed girlfriend. "Are you awake, sweetie?" No response. The eyes dart from me to the wall, to the door, and then the ceiling. I'm about to nope out of the room when her wide open eyes roll to the back of her head. The white from those eyes stands out in the dim radiance of the booklight. "No pupils in sight," she insists. "Of course I'm awake, come back to bed?" With a subtle tap of the fingers on the comforter. Looking at her fingers now, I'm starting to come around. She's never sleepwalked before, surely she is awake now if she is moving her hands? But looking at her fingers, it is as though she is pretending to have control. They are all going in different directions, one finger pointing straight down and the others to the side. Those hands are not my girlfriend's hands, they are simulating normal movement as best they can, though. I say, "I'm going to get a drink of water, baby, be right back. Can I get you anything?" Fully planning to run out of the house the moment I'm over the threshold. But my normally agreeable and sweet girlfriend decides I'm not allowed to leave. As serious as cancer, she says in that too deep horror voice. Take one step out of that door and I will rip out your throat and shit down your neck. Shocked but understanding the importance of not letting this beast know I am in trouble, I reply, as interesting as a proposition as that is, I think I'm going to. And thinking quickly, I grab my water bottle from the nightstand. This doesn't please my girlfriend as she decides to start screaming and fingering her way towards me. It is a supernatural scream, so high-pitched and bird-like I feel as though my neighbors 3 houses down were going to ask us if they heard that last night. As fast as I can muster, I unscrew the lid and douse her in water. Like I knew what I was doing, her eyes close, her garbled appendages normalize, and she is back asleep. I'm going to sleep on the couch for a while, maybe forever. She'll understand when she's awake. My brother didn't leave his room for 3 days. My parents wouldn't let me check on him. On the 3rd night Jacob didn't come out of his room. I got the courage to bring it up to Mom. People don't sleep for this long, I said. She was cooking a casserole, the 6th one this week. We were running out of fridge space for the leftovers, but she kept making more. I would watch her from the corner of the kitchen, her posture curved and her newly grayed hair hanging over the food. I walked over and tugged at her sleeve, but she didn't respond. She was slathering butter on the top crust. Mom, I said. Did you hear me? He needs his strength, she said. We can't be bothering him. Before I could say anything, Dad walked in. His eyes were red and swollen, but he was smiling. He had 3 cans of Coke in his hands. I'm starving, he said. I still have the taste of that horrible cafeteria food in my mouth. You would think hospitals had good food for how much money they make, Mom said. I know, right? Dad said. He placed the Cokes on the counter. Mom didn't want us to go near Jacob's room, but I was getting worried. I peered out from the kitchen. His room hung at the end of the hallway like an abandoned lighthouse, the only sign of life being the NY Yankees poster taped to his door. Near the ground, there was a small sliver of space to see if he had turned on his lights. It was still dark, as it had been for the last 3 days. I turned back to Mom. Shouldn't we check on him? I asked. I don't know why places like Wendy's or Burger King don't put up little shops in hospital, Dad went on. I mean, you have hundreds of people who are stuck there for days on end. That's consistent business. It's all politics, Mom said. They sign these big contracts that are impossible to break. Right. That makes sense. Right. Dad was standing next to Mom now, his face inches from the casserole. He took a long sniff. Ah, he said. Smells great. Do you want some of the leftovers while this finishes in the oven? She asked. I think we still have some from yesterday. Wasn't the spinach and ricotta one good? Very good. Very, very good, he said. I couldn't stop eating it. Jacob's gonna devour these when he gets the appetite, Mom said. I turned back and took a step into the hallway. The distance between me and his room felt long and narrow, like a high wire. When I got away from the casserole smell, I hit a different smell. It reminded me of old gym socks. Even with Mom's array of candles and incense, I still smelled it. It cut through everything. The last time I saw Jacob was on the drive home from his treatment. His face was a pale green and his eyes kept rolling back. Mom said I had to keep talking to him, to keep his focus. I told him about my friends from school and how they keep pranking the teacher by putting tacks on her chair. It wasn't true, I saw it on a TV show once, but I was running out of material. It didn't matter though. Jacob didn't even respond. All he did was cough. Pink drool was spilling onto his t-shirt. Danny, Mom said. Why don't you heat up some of those leftovers? We're all craving that spinach and ricotta casserole. I can't stop thinking about it, Dad said. I was dreaming about it last night. I ignored them. I kept my focus on my brother's door. I didn't dream about the casserole like Dad, I kept having a different dream. My brother was running into my room and flicking my ear. It was a game we used to play. We would tiptoe up to the other's door then wait for our moment. Then, the attacker ran in and got 1 or 2 good flicks before retreating. In my dream though, Jacob would run in and flick me, but I wouldn't move. I just stood there. He would flick, and laugh, then flick some more. Sometimes, he would flick so hard my ear flew off. Earth to Danny, Dad said, snapping his fingers in my face. He was standing in front of me, blocking my view of Jacob's door. Do you mind heating up 4 portions of the casserole in case Jacob wants some? We're going to eat that before this next casserole because we want to make sure Jacob's able to try it because, in my opinion, it was definitely one of your mom's best. I looked up at him and held my eye contact. I couldn't say what I was thinking, so I wanted Dad to feel it. Maybe, if I stared long enough, my feelings would translate. But, Dad looked at me for only a moment, then away. In that brief connection though, I saw something I didn't want to see. It was like staring down the tunnel of the world's deepest well. Come on now, he said. He grabbed my shoulders and turned me around. His voice got heavier. You are going to want to heat up each piece individually because if you do them all at once then you won't get even heat through the pieces and you'll probably have a couple that are too hot and others that are too cold and then Jacob won't get the full picture of how good these casseroles are. Dad let go of my shoulders and walked ahead of me, but I stayed in the hallway a moment longer. I turned to look at my brother's door one last time. I fantasized about walking up to it and going inside. But, I was afraid Mom would yell at me. Besides, I never liked going in there. He had a puke bucket next to his bed which always had pink splatters in it, and there were always clumps of hair on his pillows. Back before the last hospital visit, Mom would make me go in there and talk to him, but I always made up some excuse, like I had a cold and didn't want to get him sick. When I couldn't get out of it, I would stay in there for a few minutes and watch him try to breathe. I would tell him about some TV episode I saw, then run back to my room. I looked up. I thought I was walking back to the kitchen, but I was moving toward the door. I didn't want to, but I kept moving, like my limbs were controlled by a puppeteer. I put my hand on the doorknob. I turned. The gym sock smell filled my head like helium. Through the darkness, I could make out a sliver of my brother's face. The soft evening light fell on him. His eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. His arms were straight as rulers and his fingers curled like a blooming rose. I walked to the side of his bed. Red spit fell off his lips. He looked like a frowning clown. I flicked his ear. It was hard. I walked out and closed the door behind me. As I walked back, I seemed to forget what the inside of his room looked like. With the door closed, it could be anything. Jacob could be doing jumping jacks, or reading comic books, or plotting his next year flick attack. When I walked into the kitchen, I heated up 4 plates of spinach and ricotta casserole. When they were done, I wrapped Jacob's plate in aluminum foil and put it in the oven to keep warm. Then, Mom, Dad, and I sat in the dining room and ate in silence.